And now let me introduce you to the guests who are joining us in this bulletin. Captain Meenu Ruchi Vadia, founder, president of Federation of Indian Pilots and former Air India pilot. Also joining us is retired Air Commodore B.S. Siwach. He's the DG Aviation Safety in India. Thank you very much for joining in. I will begin with you, Captain Vadia. What, in your experience, are the words that you heard, the last words that the ATC received, the message? How do you decode it in your experience?
Well, after seeing the visuals that have been put on TV, it seems the aircraft has taken off normally. And if the contention of anyone was that the aircraft was heavy and didn't generate enough thrust, I would discount that theory as of now for the simple reason that if the pilot felt that the speed was not enough to get lift, he would have first of all retracted the undercarriage straight away. Secondly, he would not have done a normal climb up to 600 feet. He would have probably leveled out, kept the nose down, and got speed. So therefore, jumping to conclusion that this must have happened or that must have happened is too premature. Let us not jump to any conclusions and come to a decision as to what could have happened. If you ask what could have happened, yes, almost anything that you can imagine could have happened. Maybe there was sabotage. Maybe there were both engines failed. Maybe there was multiple bird hits. So that maybe will carry on till we keep on speculating. So unless we have some more facts and details, but as far as the question that you've asked, what do you make out of the transmission from the cockpit? First of all, I'm sure the pilot did not transmit immediately as if the problem happened. There must have been a problem. At what stage that problem happened, we do not know. It could have happened almost immediately on rotation. It could have been a few seconds later. But if you see the time frame of this entire episode, right, it's rotated and taken about 11 seconds to reach the altitude of about 600 feet. Thereafter, it's come down for about 15 seconds. So the total period that the aircraft was airborne was approximately 25 seconds. Right. So obviously, when something has happened, the pilot is first try to control the aircraft, try and see what the emergency was, dealt with the emergency, and in that brief time also was able to transmit that there's a problem to inform the ATC that there was something happening and that he couldn't maintain the height and maintain thrust. So that transmission has to be taken with understanding at what stage the emergency happened.
Right, absolutely. The pilot managed to relay a message even in that chaos. That's true, sir. And we should wait for the inquiry. Absolutely. Air Commodore, I would like to ask you, what do you think? Because obviously taking the investigation forward, waiting for the black box details or the recorder details to come forward, that will take time. Firstly, how much time does an investigation of the black box takes? And also, what is your thought about that entire message that you heard?
See, it is now very clear that pilot experienced loss of thrust, lift, and obviously lost control on the aircraft. The pilot maintained his calm. He did not panic, even in the face of the certain, destruction. He communicated the message to the air traffic control and tried his best possible to control the aircraft under this very challenging circumstances. So that is very unfortunate. Now the recovery of the black box is a very, very encouraging sign for the information of the investigating agencies. The black box record large number of parameters. Host of information will be available through the black box, and it will give a fair indication as to what could have gone wrong. Now, this black box records large number of parameters maybe more than 100, 150. It gives you the complete details about the health of the engines and various other parameters of the aircraft, speed, height, rate of climb or rate of descent. Every information available regarding the condition of the aircraft and its engines, all the parameters will be available to the investigative agencies, and they'll be able to arrive at some. It will be a great help.
Yes.
The conclusion, there will be so many other factors which will be considered by the investigation agencies, but it's a great help. Now,
Absolutely.
this black box is a very, very important equipment. Particularly, it's a proactive means to prevent accidents. So that, because when you download the black box, you know how the aircraft was handled, if there have been any accidents in the parameters of the aircraft. So you get to know about. And in case of any accident where there are no other witnesses or no other inputs are available from the pilots, then it is a treasure house of lot of information, which will give you the complete picture what actually went wrong.
Right.
And it records all the parameters during takeoff, during climb, during the cruise flight, during descent, approach, and landing.
Right.
So it's a great instrument.
Absolutely.
Which is
And
on board
the recovery of the box will, of course, pave way for maybe development of more security, safety protocols as well. But Captain Vadia, there were a lot of speculations about the usage of runway as well, as you must have heard in our story as well. There were a lot of experts who were saying that almost 3.5 kilometers of runway was utilized, whereas an aircraft of this kind would usually use, say, about 2.5 to 3 kilometers. So what is your experience saying? Could there have been some sort of premonition of some extra thrust required or some problem with the thrust?
See, this is again a matter of speculation. But since you are referring to this specific topic, let me elaborate. First of all, if the aircraft was supposed to be overloaded and was not able to generate enough thrust, let me tell you, all the designs of this aircraft are catering for much higher weight than was actually. All aircraft manufacturers, Boeing, Airbus, cater for a higher than what is specified load. Suppose you're taking off, say, with 1,000 kilos or whatever. It is capable of taking about 1,300 kilos of actual load. So therefore, to presume that this was the cause is not fair at all at this point in time. But let me just explain a little more on this subject. If the pilot felt that it wasn't generating enough thrust and he wasn't getting the speed, but the very fact that he got airborne, he could have been just at 50 feet or so, or 100 feet or so. And at that point in time, which is a normal practice, he could have raised the undercarriage, which reduces your drag. Then he could have kept the nose down and not resorted to a normal climb rate and generated speed and all pilots are trained for this. This is a normal common sense issue which all pilots have. So therefore, to jump to a conclusion that this was probably the cause of the accident, it wouldn't be fair at all. But to analyze, anything could have been possible, yes.
Absolutely. And jumping to conclusions is surely not something that you do with air disasters, because this is going to have an impact on the future of aviation. Air Commodore Siwach, this investigation, how important is it for the global aviation sector, for the air companies that make these aircrafts, and also for all those airlines that fly these aircrafts? How important is this investigation?
This Boeing 787 Dreamliner has a very, very good safety record. It had done almost 50 lakhs flights and flown almost 300,000 hours without any hull loss. So that is creditable for any type of aircraft. And Dreamliner has really performed in a very, very efficient and safe manner. So that is the background of this aircraft. None of our pilots also explained that there have been other problems, teething problems at the beginning when the aircraft was launched, initiating the aviation. There have been problems, we will not deny that. But all those issues were resolved. And most of the pilots who have flown this aircraft will swear by its safety performance. They are very sophisticated, very modern, very fuel efficient aircraft. So we can't really pinpoint anything on the aircraft, but anything can happen, we don't know. There might not have been any occurrence in 300,000 hours, but it can happen now, 300,000 1 hour. So that is, you see, in this particular case,
Right.
the time of the day was noon time. That is the time the temperatures are very high. In this
Extremely
case,
high.
I think it was around 40 degree plus. So in this case, when temperature are high, aircraft is fully loaded.
Okay.
Okay, 242%, there almost 1.25 liters of fuel. So aircraft was quite heavy, but within limits. And the pilot, before he takes off, he calculates and is helped by the flight management system on board of the aircraft. So all these pilots are very experienced. They are assisted through the flight management system on board. The computer will tell you what exactly how much power is required and what flap setting to select and all that. So all this information is available to the pilots.
Right.
Pilot was highly qualified, experienced.
That's true.
And now you see another factor which you must take into account is that the density altitude. Now the density altitude on that particular day, though this Ahmedabad airport is at almost 200 feet,
200 feet.
around 200 feet elevation. But the density altitude, because of high temperature, was almost 3,000 feet. So although the aircraft on the day was at almost 200 feet, but its performance is dictated by as if it was at 3,000 feet. So obviously it will require longer runway, and that is very clear that
Right.
aircraft took almost complete runway.
Uh,
And after that, aircraft has got airborne without any issues. Subsequently, of course, there have been something, what we see is that undercarriages were not selected up and the flaps appear to have been retracted. So this is an anomaly. It appears it can happen because, flaps are electrically operated, undercarriage is hydraulically operated. So there might be some kind of, technical issue
right.
on the aircraft. Flaps got retracted and undercarriage did not retract.
Right.
And after that, of course, the pilot had no time to respond, no time to react because there was hardly any altitude. He had very limited time.